What's up everybody, it's Kevin here from Happy Beard Games, and I just got back from the Cowlitz Gamers for Kids Retro Gaming Expo 2019, and that is located in Longview, Kelso, Washington. So, what is the Cowlitz Gamers for Kids Expo all about? This Retro Gaming Expo featured many vendor booths, some familiar to me, some new to me, and most of them focused on retro or classic video games. There was a few that were jewelry or handmade DIY crafts, and those were really cool as well, things like t-shirts, some pixel art, and things like that. And although I didn't get any pictures of it and I didn't enter myself into it, there was a raffle contest where you could enter and you could win some prizes. Some of those prizes were pretty big, like a TV, a Nintendo Switch set, an Xbox One X set, an arcade 1-up machine, and some other really cool stuff. In the back, there was some video game tournaments being held, and these were scheduled. So I wasn't sure exactly which games were actually being played, but I did overhear Marvel vs. Capcom 2, I think on the Xbox, probably on the Xbox, being played as a tournament game. Pretty cool, that's one of my favorites. And the Cowlitz Gamers for Kids Expo was for a good cause too. It was supporting those that have autism in the Cowlitz County, such as autism awareness, autism support, and things like that. So it was going for a good cause as well. This is a charity event in some ways. Now this expo was similar to the Portland Retro Gaming Expo that I went to back last year in October and did a video on that as well. This was sort of like a smaller version of that. There were some of the same vendor booths, some of the same people going there, and I ran into a lot of really cool people as well. So before I get into the pickups, I just want to emphasize that my highlight of being here was not the pickups, not necessarily the video games, and just to let you know, I was only there for 2 hours. I wasn't able to stay the entire time, so that's why my pickups are small and my experience is a little bit less than some people's. Because I had to go at a certain time, I didn't have the full experience, and back at Portland Retro Gaming Expo, I was there for 3 full days. So for 2 hours, it's kind of a small convention for me. So there was definitely some people that you would recognize from YouTube. Metal Jesus was there, Immortal John Hancock was there, John Blue Riggs was there, Radical Reggie was there, my buddy Marcus from Retro Game Players was there, although I wasn't there to meet him because I had to leave early. But there was a lot of really cool vendor booths as well. The DJ, the same DJ from the Portland Retro Game Expo was there, so I talked to him. That was really cool meeting him again. I talked with the owners of the vendor booth Home of the Future Games and Toys, which had a lot more video games this time around. I had previously run into them at the Walker Stalker Heroes and Villains comic convention back in Portland, which I did a video on as well. Some of the other vendor booths that I went to was Northwest Outpost, or NW Outpost, which is located on 351 Three Rivers Drive, Kelso, Washington, and that's a video game and collectibles store. And I think this is where I got most of my video games. I could be wrong, so I'm not going to say that for sure. Alright, now let's check out the video game pickups that I got from the Cowlitz Gamers for Kids Retro Gaming Expo 2019. Let's jump in. And we got the first game here, Cliffhanger, for the Super Nintendo. Cliffhanger is based on the Sylvester Stallone movie, Cliffhanger, and it's actually the game's by Sony. Now the game Cliffhanger kind of plays like a Double Dragon, but not quite as good. It's mostly a beat-em-up, side-scrolling. There's some jumping, you have to jump over pits, and then there's a part where you have to climb a cliff. And this part, you would think something called Cliffhanger, even if it wasn't based on the movie, would be pretty good at climbing a cliff for that part of the gameplay. That would be like the highlight. But it was the worst part of the game. I'd rather just do the side-scrolling beat-em-up Double Dragon style as Sylvester Stallone. But it's not really that great. And I didn't really know what I was getting going into this game because I hadn't seen any reviews or videos on it. I just saw the movie Cliffhanger, and I knew there was a video game of it as well. So getting this for Super Nintendo, it could have been good. Judge Dredd was a good game. But Cliffhanger, so far, not so much. But it was $5.99, and I still like that I have it, because it's actually pretty cool. I love Sylvester Stallone, so this is a really cool game to have in that regards, at the very least. The second game that I got from that same vendor was a big one, Super Godzilla for the Super Nintendo, priced at $14.99. It is a lot different than I expected. I've played it a little bit now, and I thought it was going to be like a Rampage or a King of the Monsters kind of thing, but it's not. It's kind of like a strategy game. You have a little map, and you kind of navigate Godzilla. It kind of feels a lot like one of the movies, though. It's more slower paced, but then when you make it to the other giant monster, the kaiju, at the end of the level, you do enter a fighting game of sorts, but it was really tricky and confusing on the controls. They're not very clear. I had to look up a strategy guide to figure out what the controls were, because it tells you, but it doesn't tell you what button to press and what, and it turned out it's like L and R, so it's really weird. The third game that I got from that same vendor booth, I know I wanted to get a box game, at least one box game. They had some there, but there were ones I already had, like Vegas Stakes and Return of the Jedi, I already had those. But they had one that I didn't have the game, and it came with a box, so that is Ultraman. Yes, Ultraman. This was $20, kind of a lot, and I don't know much about it. It looks really cool. The back of the box really sells the game, makes it sound awesome. But I don't know that much about Ultraman in general, but it does look really cool, and it kind of fits that theme with the Godzilla game that I got. And it's cool to have the box, too. It's nice to have the case. Somewhere around the middle of the convention floor, I found a place that had some Game Boy games that were loose in a little, like, cup. They had, like, a cup of Game Boy games, and they were all about $5 each. Some of them were a little more, like Pokemon Silver was there for $15, I think. But the games that I got for Game Boy at that booth were both $5 each. So the first one is one that I've always thought about, but I've never actually played it until, like, yesterday. So that is Donkey Kong Land. On a nice yellow Game Boy cart. Kind of like Pokemon Yellow, I guess. But it's Donkey Kong Land. It's not Donkey Kong Country. It's not a port of Donkey Kong Country. It's very similar to Donkey Kong Country, but it's not quite there. And it's in the same style as Donkey Kong Country. But it's, you can see the label's a little ripped up there. But for $5, it's not a big deal to me. I mean, I'm going to be playing on my Super Game Boy anyways. Yeah, it's kind of cool. I don't know, I haven't really gotten into it that much. It's not quite as good as Donkey Kong Country, but it's a cool one to have for the Game Boy. And back in the day, if you wanted to take it on the go, that's the closest thing you're gonna get, so that's pretty cool. The second game that I got from that vendor booth that had the Game Boy games was one that's a rebuy for me. This was actually the first Game Boy game I ever got back when I got my green Game Boy Pocket back in the day when I was a kid. The first two games I ever got were Super Mario Land and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Fall of the Foot Clan. So we got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Fall of the Foot Clan on the Game Boy. It's very simple. I remember being able to beat it, and it was one of the first video games that I ever completed. It's pretty easy. It's kind of like the one for NES, but it's still a little different on its own style. The characters are bigger sprites, and the levels are shorter, and it has the weird ability that from the very start of the game, you can select any of the 5 levels, I believe, to complete, but you do have to complete them all during the gameplay, and you can choose any of the turtles to play as. I don't think it's quite the same as the way you switch between them on the NES game, the first NES Ninja Turtles, but it's pretty fun, and I like it a lot, and I'll be playing it again soon. So it's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles by Ultra Games, Fall of the Foot Clan. Really cool. Good one to have. It's a simple Ninja Turtles game. And that's it for the actual video games that I got. Not as much as the Portland Retro Game Expo, but then again it was smaller and I was only there for about 2 hours. But there is some other cool stuff that I got there as well, so let's jump into that. The first one is from Pink Gorilla Games. They had a little, or I guess a pretty big box of just game manuals, assorted loose game manuals, not really even like in any order or anything, just a box of manuals. And I was looking through them. I didn't really want any game manuals, not that much. I have a bunch here that are loose, and they go to games that are not complete in box. And it wasn't really a big deal for me to get the manual at this expo. But I did see something cool. Now, I'm pretty sure this was from Nintendo Power back in the day. Like, you would find it in the magazine, like it'd be just, you pull it out of the magazine. And the reason I think that is because I have a couple of these. I have a couple of them for the Nintendo NES. Now, these are Super Nintendo, you can tell just by the way they look, but what they are stickers. They're stickers that go on the face of the controller and give it a different style. Now, I'm probably gonna have to buy a couple, or at least one, more Super Nintendo controller for me to try this out on, but I definitely want to use this on my controller. And what they are stickers, but their designs are ones that I've never seen before. Really cool stickers, and this was $1 at Pink Gorilla Games. Yes, that Pink Gorilla Games from Seattle. So that was the one thing I got from them, and that was only $1. Now the next thing I got was at another vendor that was selling a bunch of those, I guess they're trading cards that are, well, they basically look like this. And they had them in the box, the original box, you know, those boxes where you get the cards from. They had multiple different ones from different movies. Now this pack I got here was the only pack I got, and it's from the movie The Dark Crystal, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. Really cool one. They had some from other movies such as Beetlejuice, Alien, Batman, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and some TV shows from the early 90s and late 80s. So these are vintage cards, they're not new, and let's see the date on it. It says 1982 Henson Associates, so it's a Jim Henson movie, The Dark Crystal. And it's never been opened. Really cool. We're going to open this right now, and I'll show you those cards as close-ups right now as well. So I haven't opened this one at all yet, so I'm kind of excited for this. And I've had some of these card packs in the past of different ones, like I have a Nintendo one, I have some of the Batman ones, and I have some of the Back to the Future ones as well. So I like to keep the package kind of nice, but we're just opening it right here. It opens pretty simply, kind of unfolds like that. Usually what these cards are, they are scenes from the movie, and then on the back they have a description of that scene. So that's really cool. A lot of really cool ones actually in this that I'm actually pretty pleased with which ones I got, because there's some of the key points of the movie and some of the key characters of the movie, The Dark Crystal. And speaking of Ninja Turtles, we've got one last thing that I picked up from this convention, and it was a grab bag of sorts. After this, we got a grab bag, $12. Kind of a lot, but I went back to it like 3 times during the convention. At the very end, it was the last thing I picked up because I realized I didn't really buy that much stuff. And what was in that grab bag was 4 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle toys. Now I was a little bit off when I saw the bag. I thought they were all from the early 90s, late 80s action figures, the ones that I had when I was a kid, but they weren't all like that. So I'll show you them, and I'll show you them up close. Here's the first one. This is what caught my eye. Donatello, really cool. That's my favorite Ninja Turtle, and this is a really cool figure of him. These are all action figures. It's a really nice one. It does pose kind of like the older ones. You can move the arms, you can move the hands. The shell does not open up. Some of the older ones did. The head turns, and it's a really cool design as well. The feet and legs don't move very much, but it does stand up well. And they didn't come with any weapons, which is disappointing, but whatever. As long as you got the turtles, it's all good. And we got Donatello here, and yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm pretty happy with it. The only thing that disappointed me was when I looked at the feet. It tells the copyright date and all that. This one is from 2002, so it's like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that they had later on, the second, I guess, I don't know if it's the second generation of it, but it's after the movies, after the early cartoon series. This is the one that was in the year 2000, 2002. They made some Xbox and GameCube games of it, and it's actually a really good series. It's a pretty good Ninja Turtles series. It's probably the second best one, in my opinion, in terms of TV cartoons from Ninja Turtles. And then we got another one here. Let me just check the date. This one's also 2002, and it's Shredder. So we got a Shredder here, and we've got, he can move his arm, but for some reason, I don't know why, maybe the weapon he had, he can move his arms differently. So this one only moves up and down, and this one moves all ways. I don't know, it's weird. And he can pivot on his body. His head doesn't move for some reason, but his legs move. So that's pretty cool. We got Shredder there. I don't know if it's Shredder or Super Shredder. It might just be the design of him in that series. I think it's just Shredder, but whatever. It's pretty cool to have a Shredder. So we got Shredder and Donatello. And then we got this one, which I thought was you know how they had some really weird ones back in the day? They had some sports Ninja Turtles and stuff like that. I thought this was one of those. But actually it turns out this one right here of Leonardo is the newest one, surprisingly. This was 2003, so it's a year, I think was it 2008 or 2003? 2003. I thought it said 2008, but okay. So it's a year after those two last ones. And it's Leonardo, but he's wearing an orange jumpsuit. I don't know why, and he's got metal knee guards and shin guards and elbow guards, and he's got a helmet on instead of just the mask. I don't know what the story is about this one, but it's pretty cool. It's just a little funky and different, you know? Kind of like one of those sports ones back in the day, or some of the weird ones that they had. They had the Stretch Armstrong turtles. I don't know if you remember those. Those are pretty cool. But yeah, so we got Leonardo as well. That's really cool. It's a cool set right here. But there was one other one, and you might have known that I have a Usagi Yojimbo figure as well. A giant one, because I got some of the newer ones of Usagi Yojimbo. But here's a Usagi Yojimbo that was in that pack as well. So that kind of sealed the deal. Donatello, Shredder, and Usagi Yojimbo. That's really cool. Now this Usagi, this Yojimbo here, where's the date? It's not on his foot, it's on like the back. This is actually a 1989 one. So this is a 1989 Ninja Turtles Usagi Yojimbo crossover figure. So that's pretty cool. No weapons, nothing like that. But it's a really cool one, and he does have some holes in his legs, like there was some kind of armor or accessory that went onto his kneecaps or something like that. Sort of like how he has this armor on his shoulders. But it's really cool to have this character, and if you don't know about Usagi Yojimbo, he has a very long-running manga series, and it's by Dark Horse in North America, and it's really kind of interesting. Also has crossovers of Ninja Turtles in his own manga, as well as being crossed over in various Ninja Turtles series, so that's really cool to have. So, I'm not that big of a collector of action figures, but I do like Ninja Turtles figures, and for some reason recently that's something I've been looking for. So we got 4 Ninja Turtles figures. Alright everyone, that's it for my Cowlitz Gamers for Kids 2019 Expo pickups and details about the Expo as well. If you're interested in this Expo, I'd love to run into you next year, because I'll probably be going next year as well. And hopefully I'll be able to spend some more time there. Alright guys, thanks for watching so much. I hope you liked what I picked up, and I hope you enjoyed some of those pictures and some of the gameplay clips as well. Okay, if you liked this video, please be sure to give it a like, leave me a comment, let me know what you think, share with your friends, subscribe to Happy Bird Games Today for more classic gaming goodness, and I just posted a Donkey Kong Country review which took me a week to complete. It's a huge review. I'd really appreciate it if you check that video out as well specifically. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Bye!